Hi, I'm Ivy the Occultist. I have a YouTube channel and I just started an Instagram for the YouTube as well, but I'm primarily a chaos magician, but I practice a lot of different things. I'm also a witch, a shamanic practitioner, a little bit of history with ceremonial magic. I'm also a psychic, so I do a lot of different things, but I think I am most known for chaos magic on my YouTube channel, even though I have a ton of stuff. So yeah, that's who I am.
So let's get into it because I know that a lot of people love chaos magic. They love knowing more about it. I think it's one of those things that is super interesting because it feels untouchable. Feels like it's too advanced or something for people to do. So I want to know what you say when people ask what is chaos magic? Just
Okay, I knew you were going to ask me this. Okay, so to condense it down, first I have to say I can't speak on behalf of all chaos magicians everywhere because we all practice very differently. Like if you were to ask 5 different witches, what is witchcraft, you're going to get like 5 different answers. So it's really kind of complicated. But there's kind of like this unofficial slogan for chaos magic where it's nothing is true and everything is permitted. And so I didn't get this wrong. I wrote down my own definition because I knew you were going to be asking me this. So basically, to me, chaos magic involves taking a psychological approach to magic and using belief as a tool for manifestation. And you do this with the attempt to achieve the most effective, efficient magical practice as possible. So it's very results-based, it's very efficient. And there's also kind of these 6 principles of chaos magic. Although when I say the word principle, that's not really, it's more like loose guidelines than anything because we try to avoid anything super dogmatic with the chaos magic paradigm. But this derives from Phil Hine in his book Condensed Chaos. And the 6 principles are the avoidance of dogmatism, personal experience, technical excellence, deconditioning the mind, diverse approaches, and gnosis. And I can totally go into those if you want me to, but that's in a nutshell what chaos magic is.
man, you just had that ready.
Yep, I'm
Love that.
efficient.
You
I'm
said you're very
efficient.
type A, right? So
I am
that's
so type A.
coming out right now. I love that. What does chaos magic look like to you then? Like what does that look like in your practice? What would you say like, oh, I'm doing chaos magic right now because I'm doing X, Y, and Z? What does that look like?
Okay, so this is complicated. So let me just go on like a whole tangent. But chaos magic is kind of a way of looking at how magic works. And you're really using your belief as a tool for manifestation. So if you believe in it, your belief is what's powering that spell. And so you can be doing witchcraft, you can be doing shamanic styles of practicing magic, you can be doing all these different techniques, you can be practicing high magic from a chaos magic perspective. And it's really just the perception of the psychological approach that's really the chaos magic part. So you can use anything in your spell work. I think for me, when I see chaos magicians practicing like traditional chaos magic, if that's even a thing, which it's not. But I would say that sigils are probably the most popular and common among chaos magic practitioners. Also, the use of working with magical entities like servitors. Servitors are also really popular, and that's what I personally use in my magical practice. Like I am always bringing in sigils. I am working with servitors. And I think there's this component of trying everything. I mean, literally everything, because I have gone down the path of ceremonial magic. I was a Buddhist for 5 years. I was an atheist. I went into shamanism and went deep down that route for a while. I went back and forth between paganism and witchcraft, and going through all these different shifts, these paradigm shifts, help you kind of figure out what works best for you personally. And you can really cultivate your own magical practice that is extremely efficient because you have all these different perspectives coming in and you've tried it all, you know? And so there's this encouragement, I guess, as a chaos magic practitioner to continuously try new things and push yourself out of the box and try to decondition your mind. So I feel like it's really psychological. You're like brainwashing yourself while simultaneously unbrainwashing yourself constantly. So it's just like a mind fuck. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on
Yeah,
here.
absolutely.
Okay, so yeah, it's very, very heady. So yeah, I hope that answers.
Yeah. I mean, that I think that's why it comes off as like, how do you even do this? Because it is so, I mean, it's chaos. That's exactly like it's straight up, it's chaos. That's why it's chaos magic. And like you said, it is very heady, which I think this is going to go into a whole other tangent and like soapbox, but that's what we're here for. I think a lot of like beginners, especially when you first get into a practice, a lot of the time they land into either new age or witchcraft, or like a weird mix between the both. And because that's just the thing that's the most accessible. And it's already hard to understand really what you're doing and why you're doing it when you don't have all the foundations. Like there's just information that's just like, well, just ground and cleanse and then like think about it and manifest. Like, and you're like, I feel like I'm not actually doing anything. So it comes down to like a lot of sympathetic magic of working with something physical so you can actually feel like pushing your energy into something or doing something in order to get the results. So then when it comes down to chaos magic, that is very heady and is very like, it's not tangible. It's not a physical thing that you work with, unlike something like candles or poppets or, you know, charm bags or whatever. That just adds like that whole extra layer of confusion of like, what the hell am I doing and how the hell do I do this? What would you say that the pros and cons are then for like using chaos magic comparatively to other styles of magic?
Pros and cons. Okay, so I wanted to say something to what you just said
Yeah.
too, briefly before going to pros and cons. It's almost like you have to know the rules in order to know how to bend them or break them. And so I feel like chaos magic is kind of daunting for beginners. You're right, because you almost need to kind of know the traditional rules of magic first to get a better understanding of how you can manipulate them for your own benefit. So I just wanted to say that in addition to what you said. Pros and cons. That's so hard because for me, I love this style of practicing magic and there's no cons for me, but so I'm like, it's great. Everybody should do it. I think let's start with the cons though. I think the one that comes up to my mind is consistency might be really difficult for some chaos magicians because you're bouncing around all over the place and you're really learning all these different things. And so it's easy to get overwhelmed. So I would definitely say that if you are somebody that gets overwhelmed easily, maybe just start with one magical system like witchcraft or like a specific form of ceremonial magic, then maybe get into chaos magic later on. But yeah, so that's really the only con that I can think of off the top of my head. Pros, though, so many pros. I feel like chaos magic really pushes you to work with your ego a lot and to kind of help decondition your mind and separate yourself from your ego. And it's not necessarily like we have to have a full ego death because I don't personally believe that's actually achievable over the course of our life. I think our ego is very necessary for us to kind of walk alongside and not necessarily try to kill it off. But I do find that working with chaos magic, you have to kind of assess your own brainwashing, your own previous conditioning from society, from your childhood, you know, your caregivers, whatever. And you have to ask yourself, is this something I actually believe, or is this something that people forced me to believe that really actually doesn't resonate with me? And so there's a lot of like deconstructing that comes with it. So I feel it's super, super helpful just becoming a better person in general and also learning about other cultures. I mean, with the caveat, we always want to be careful of closed practices, right? And not, you know, go diving into those when we shouldn't be dipping our hands in the cookie jar. But among open practices, I think it's really nice to be able to get to know how all these different traditions work. And then you can kind of see this universal truth among all of them, which is amazing. It's like all religions are true and yet no religions are true. Like if you look at all religions, they have these key components in them. You know, some of the details are different, but the underlying message is the same. So I think that's the biggest pro for me, is just getting a broader perspective on the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting that you say that like all religions are true, but all religions are not true at the same time. Like it's like Schrodinger's cat. And something that you said in the very beginning of all is permitted, like the slogan,
Oh, nothing is true, everything is
nothing is true,
permitted.
everything is permitted. That is another thing that stuck with me, but only as a child when I was playing the Assassin's Creed games. I don't know if you've ever played those, but
No.
that's the Assassin's slogans basically, is nothing is true and all is permitted. And
Nice.
that was like one of the things that like as a 15-year-old, I was like, shit, I should get that tattooed on my body. I love that. And again, looking back, I'm like, that makes a lot of sense of why that resonated with me, along with Schrodinger's cat, of like these things of like, it's all true, but it's not. Like it's this like liminal space. You're just existing in this liminal space, and like you're not really sure like what you kind of have to like understand how to flow back and forth. So with that whole side tangent, What's your advice then if somebody's like, okay, I know my foundations of just at least where I'm at. How do I even begin to do chaos magic? Like, what's my first steps if I have some foundations and I'm ready to break my rules?
Well, there are definitely books that I would recommend for people that are wanting to like specifically get into the chaos magic paradigm, which I can totally recommend in a second. But I think just doing it and just trying something completely different, just going for it. Like, yes, reading is nice, but really chaos magic is all about your own personal experience and coming up with what works for you. So if you are, let's say you're a witch, you've been practicing eclectic witchcraft for a while, maybe try getting into ceremonial magic, maybe look into something, you know, that's completely foreign to you, like a Golden Dawn style of ceremonial magic, or getting into planetary magic, or looking at Thelema, or even looking into Buddhism or some, you know, Eastern practices. I think it's important to push ourselves out of the box. So try something that's totally foreign to you and see how it feels. See if you can get yourself to work that kind of magic and see how effective it is. But I don't know if you wanted me to recommend some books, but I actually have two here. That I can
Please.
totally. Okay.
We
So
love books here.
okay, good, because there are two books that are an absolute must for somebody that's wanting to get into chaos magic. There's tons of great chaos magic books out there, but these are the two staples that you have to read at some point. So we have Liber Null and Psychonaut, and then we have Condensed Chaos. These were kind of the two books that really made chaos magic explode. So I would recommend, if you're a beginner, starting with Condensed Chaos by Phil Hine, because it's a nicer introduction to chaos magic, in my opinion, because it's a little bit easier to read and to understand. A lot of people that read Liber Null, my ring light's kind of giving a glare, but a lot of people that start reading Liber Null, it can be a little bit confusing for them. So that's why I always recommend start with Condensed Chaos by Phil Hine, then move to Liber Null and Psychonaut by Peter Carroll. And Peter Carroll is kind of like the father of chaos magic. So two books, try something different, you know, think outside the box. That'd probably be my first advice.
Perfect. Do you have like a specific thing that you're doing right now? Or like that you're
What am I not doing? I'm like, I'm so wow. I don't know if you could hear that, but that was my dog groaning.
I did hear that. I thought it was your phone buzzing.
No, it was my dog. He's like hanging out. Anyways, oh gosh, I'm really getting into like shape shifting and working with animals a little bit more. So that's something that I haven't even gone down yet. And I'm really interested in that. I work with my servitors all the time. I'm still always doing a little bit of sigil magic. I think planetary magic is probably the most consistent for me as far as, I mean, the past 5-ish years, maybe 5 to 7 years, I've been working with planetary magic, and it makes it, to me, it's so efficient. It's so efficient for me. I get great results from planetary magic. But I'm just like reading everything, opening myself up to new possibilities. If there is a religion that I'm not familiar with, I'm going to buy a book on it and I'm going to read about it and I'm going to see how that resonates with me. So yeah, I do a lot of stuff. I work with plant spirits and tree spirits a lot. So that's definitely something that I'm currently working with, especially because it's like springtime and, you know, summer and all that stuff. We kind of talked about that on the collaboration that you and I did. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. There's like a long laundry list of
I
things.
know, I know a lot of people are going to have questions about the servitors. So do you want to go a little more into that? I just know it. I can already see the comments. So
Yeah, totally. I mean, yeah. So for anybody that's not familiar, servitors, it's a magical entity that's created by the magical practitioner. And these servitors, they're more like servants, and they are not emotional. They're not emotional. They're not your companion. There's this whole section of tulpas, which is a completely different type of magical entity. And those are more like companion spirits or like imaginary friend type vibes. But servitors are servants. They are, I would kind of consider them as pieces of your subconscious mind, though the perspective on servitors, it really differs depending on who you're talking to, what a servitor actually is. Some people view it like you're putting a job posting out there for something that you want done. And then there is this servitor type entity that comes in to fill that job. But for me, I've described this on my servitor video that I feel like my subconscious mind has a bunch of gremlins running around, all like chaotic and crazy and all over the place. And instead of letting those gremlins just like run around and be chaos, what I do is I assign them a specific task, and those become my servitors. So you go through this whole process of creating this magical entity. and then it literally does tasks for you. So I have a servitor that guards my home. So he patrols the property and is only activated when there's a threat. I also have a servitor that comes with me throughout my day and kind of helps me manage my own anxiety and is really good at blocking any negative energy coming my way. Because for me, I am a hardcore introvert. It's extremely difficult for me to be in crowds or just like outside of my house in general. And so bringing that servitor along with me to kind of bring out the samurai sword and cut off that negative energy before it even gets to me is wonderful. But you can have servitors like if you're looking to get a job, let's say, and you're having a hard time finding job opportunities, you can create a servitor to point out specific job opportunities that you may have otherwise missed. That's another example I've used in the past. So yeah, that's kind of what servitors are and what they do. And there's a whole process to making them. And yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
Do you have something that you would like recommend to somebody if they were like, I need to know how to make one of those or figure out more about servitors? Like what resources would you recommend to that person?
Oh, sure. Okay. So, well, not to be totally, I don't know, self-promotional or whatever, but I do have a video on servitors and it's like goes over the whole process on how to make a servitor. And I think it's pinned on the homepage of my YouTube channel, but there's also a book. Oh my gosh. There's a really, really good book. I can't remember it off the top of my head. Maybe I can send it to you afterwards and you
Yeah.
can like link it in the description box because there's a really good book that I found on creating these magical entities. So yeah, I'll send that to you for sure.
Great. Sounds good. Perfect. Yeah, I will link all of those videos like as you say it, it'll like be up in the little description thing. It pops up, whatever.
Yeah.
And in the
Oh,
description.
I have to say though, I made that servitor video like a year ago and I hate how I made it. Like the information in it is really, really good and I would not change the information, but I've learned so much as a YouTuber over the past year. I hate how I filmed it. So please don't judge me too harshly on how that's filmed.
That's okay. I mean, like I'll do that even just with videos that I've made a year ago, or like I've literally taken down videos that I made like 5 years ago because I rewatched them and I was like, that's disgusting. I hated everything about that. Information, fantastic, but everything else, like the way it was delivered, the aesthetics, everything, it needs to just be erased from this planet. And so I took
feel
it
that.
down and was like, no longer need that. Nope. Well, I wanted to loop back to something that we were talking about earlier about kind of like trying a bunch of things that were really out of your comfort zone. And I know that I bring this up a lot, but it's because I think that's kind of my catalyst of like chaos magic in a way, of taking the Hecate course was something that was completely and totally out of my comfort zone. I would have never done that. And now it's not that specific thing like the teachings, but a lot of the setup and the system I used as inspiration that is now a big piece of what my practice is now. And I get like really heavy, really good results with it. But I would have never been able to put that, like implement that into my craft without taking something that was so out of my comfort zone. And even so, like I still retake it every year because there's so much that I am still learning through it because I'm, I am just a mere folk practitioner. I am not really a ceremonial practitioner, but I think like I'm starting to see myself slowly peek into more of that. Same thing as planetary magic. I know every time I've ever used it, it's always worked out really well for me. I'm kind of curious to like pick your brain on that, if that's okay.
Let's go. Let's do
Okay,
it.
yeah. You're like, love this shit. What's the last one you're willing to share of like your like ritual or practice or ritual or spell that you've used planetary wise that
Yeah, okay. So the last one I used is actually a video that I'm about to upload. So I
Oh
don't
great.
know.
Okay. I mean, by the time this is out, hopefully that video will be up. So
That's true. Okay, well, all I will say is that
okay.
okay, so I was using Mercury because Mercury is all about the mind, the intellect, the mental space, and I was creating spells to absorb knowledge easily. So I was working with Mercury because I am a very I need to be intellectually stimulated at all times, and I want to learn lots of different things, and I want to learn it fast because I don't have patience. So I wanted to do spells to help me absorb all that knowledge as easily as possible because my brain is like always starving and like, give me the info. So I made a sigil using the planetary square for Mercury. So that's typically what I do is I love using the planetary squares to make sigils because every planet has a different square that corresponds to them. And then you can bring in some additional elements. You know, you can bring in the intelligence if you want, or like the symbol for the planet. I practice planetary magic in a very chaos magic way. So if a traditionalist were to watch this video, they would be like, she's probably not doing planetary magic because I'm not doing it from a traditional sense. I'm not working with any sort of angelic beings or Olympic spirits or anything like that. But I kind of work with it in more of a psychological approach. So I use the planetary squares, and I do utilize like days of the week and times of the day. So days of the week are huge for me. So like Mercury, when I was doing these spells, I did it on a Wednesday because Wednesday obviously correlates with Mercury. So yeah, that was the latest one, I guess. But I'm doing that kind of stuff all the time. Like on Thursdays, I work with my money bowls and I do money magic. And Thursdays corresponds with Jupiter. So that's just a really nice, easy way to bring in that Jupiter energy. And yeah, I just find it makes it so much more effective.
Have you taken the Jupiter course with Jason Miller yet?
No, but I want to.
It's so good.
Is it?
It's my second year taking it, and it's the same thing of like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. This is so, and it's very like mantra based, and but I love the Q&As. I like, he does Q&As directly with each student, so every student will, or whenever you want to, will submit a question and he answers them very thoroughly. So I love listening to the Q&As because every single year on both of the courses, there's always questions that I'm like, oh, I didn't even think of that. And then, you know, he goes into this whole thing that I like, opens me up to a lot more questions, or just like, you know, things to try or things to think about, just really, really curious. But yeah, the Jupiter course is really cool. And really interesting stuff there. But you also posted recently on Instagram that it was like a very, very simple spell. It was a luck spell that I think you were doing. I think I see it in the back, right?
Oh,
That,
yeah.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
little thing right there. Yes.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Tell
go
me
ahead.
more about it. No, tell me more about it.
Yeah, I was gonna do a video on luck spells, and then I decided against it because I don't know, the YouTube algorithm's weird and like whatever. Anyways, so yeah, I think that luck spells is something that every witch should be doing. And I think it's something that not a lot of us think of at all because it's so generic. And I was talking about this with another person. It sounds frou-frou. Okay. When you think about like a luck spell, it sounds kind of like, I don't know. So anyways, I recommend it to literally every single witch because I did this little candle spell back here, and I created a sigil using the Jupiter grid actually for prosperity, because that's whatever. You can do whatever you want for your sigils. I don't care. Anyway, so I put the sigil on the candle, and I have this little like lucky oil that I drizzle into it, and then I light the candle up and I say my little lucky mantra, which is something super silly and simple. But then within a couple hours, every time I light this candle and do my mantra, something lucky happens to me. So like the other day when I had posted on my Instagram, I just got like a random $60 refunded back to me through Groupon because I had like an old thing that expired from like 5
Oh, hold
years
on.
ago, and fun, which was cool.
Sorry, you just cut out for a second. I was like, wait. Okay.
Oh no, am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, so I got this random $60 from Groupon, and I was like, that's awesome. And there have just been like little things falling into place here and there. Like I'll light the candle and I've been really wanting to talk to somebody, and then they'll reach out to me within like a couple hours. You know, it just is like little stuff like that that builds into something bigger. So if you're not doing a luck spell, like do it. Like, why not? You know, I know it sounds frou-frou, but like it's good for us. And we have all these little blessings that come into our life. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, also like just I like my luck spells as jewelry, something that I can carry with me, especially when I leave my house. Because I was actually thrifting with Frankie, Chaotic Witch, on, and like again, small thing. It's not anything that I'm like, whoa, magic, but it's just like one of those things. It's like, oh, that was kind of lucky. That was kind of cool. We went thrifting, and most of the time I can always find stuff, but I only found one thing, and there it was like this little candle holder thing that I was like, oh, it's perfect like size for these fatter pillars that I have. And on the bottom it said like $10 or something like that, but it was written on it, didn't have a tag. So when I brought it up, I was like, oh, I don't know, like there's not really a tag. And he's like, all right, I'll give it to you for like 250. And I was like, yeah, okay. Like I was planning to spend, the $10 or like whatever discount it had there. And then he was like 250 and I was like, oh, a little lucky. I like that. Yeah, cool. Or like parking spots, little things like that. But I think the reason your Instagram stuck with me, or like that specific post, was because you're showing that process of like it's not this, I don't know, like it was just very like grounded and real, of just like, well, this is just how it is. And also it was that experiment of a candle. Like it's not this like tried and true, I have this spell that's been handed down to me generations after generations, and like this is what it's going to work. Like it was very honest of like, I don't know, I've just been like fucking around and finding out, and I'm trying it. And I drew a sigil on it and I do my mantra, and every time I light it, like this is what's happening. Like that is exactly how, at least in my experience, how magic works in my practice of like, okay, this is what I need. I'm going to try this out, see how the results go, and then tweak it according to plan. And now you know that like if you just want like little blessings every day that you light this candle, that's what you do.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It is really a fuck around and find out situation because, like, I don't know, I don't have all the answers. Like, yeah, I'm making a YouTube channel on stuff that I think I know, but none of us have the answers. And like to claim that we do is just stupid. So honestly, we just need to try a bunch of random things and see what works, see what works best for you. So yeah, totally agree with all that.
And this
And
is
it's
why
very
it's so
easy.
important to write everything down. Document it.
Yes.
Document it, because I've gone back and I've looked back and been like, oh shit, that did work out actually. Like it was like this huge ritual, and then like, a month or two later, I'm like, oh yeah, that worked really well.
That's actually, so what you're saying right now, that's actually a core principle, again, principle, but really guideline of chaos magic is technical excellence. Because when you're trying, there's this huge misconception of chaos magic. People think that it's just messy and chaotic and lazy and all over the place and blah. And that's absolutely not the case whatsoever. When you are trying all these different random things and starting to get really eclectic in your magical practice, you need to be writing things down. You need to have that technical excellence of keeping track of your hypothesis, your procedure. It's like you're being your own scientist,
Yes.
So it's not lazy. It can actually be a very disciplined depending on the practitioner. So totally agree with you. Just had to say that.
You're just a magical scientist. I suppose, I guess I could categorize myself as a chaos magician. I just tend not to for some reason, but like thinking about it in a broad sense, I suppose that I'm one of you.
Yes, come to my side. I love it.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're coming up on time, so I'm gonna pull you over to Patreon because they have some questions for you, just to like rapid fire style. But I really appreciate you coming on and just letting me pick your brain a little bit about
Yeah.
chaos magic. You have some awesome information on your channel, so I'll leave all of that down below if you want to find her. I don't know if you have like a link tree or whatever, but links will be down below and at the end page here. But otherwise, thank you for coming over, and I will see you around. I'm sure we'll do other collabs and whatnot. But yeah, thanks for that.
Thank you so much for having me on the channel. I really appreciate it. So yeah, thanks.